All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Inlay Terms. One of my guests is very eager to get started. I'm your host, Payman Ascari. We have two People's Party candidates with us today. Jeff, why don't you go ahead and please start with the introductions?
I got it. Thanks, Payman, for the opportunity. Jeff Galbraith, People's Party of Canada candidate in the riding of Chilliwack Hope, British Columbia.
Great. And Kevin, what about yourself?
Yeah, Kevin Sinclaire, candidate People's Party, Mission Matsui, Abbotsford, BC.
So why don't we? What's like the first day of election going? You guys are both first time sort of candidates, right? You have no political experience.
No, I ran last election, 2021. I ran for Abbotsford. So we watched our vote share grow from 2% to about 7.5%. So it was fun, exciting, but it was a wild ride. I jumped in and the election got called right away. So I didn't know what I was doing, but we did okay. We did good in the all candidates debate and learned a lot. So now I'm a little bit ahead of the game this time around.
Jeff, we got a professional. You and I were the amateurs.
Yeah. I throw my hands up.
We surrender, the French approach.
Absolutely. No, for me, it's a first time for me. It's a learning curve that is going straight up, and so it's been really interesting to meet and greet a lot of people and a lot of supporters. And looking forward to the opportunity to helping change the direction of our country.
Go ahead, Kevin.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry. I guess I got feedback. I was gonna say the People's Party, our opponents, they sometimes criticize us. They say, the candidates don't do enough outside of elections. The EDAs they don't do enough. And then I woke up this morning and I'm getting all of these volunteers coming in and all these donations. It works the other way too. Are you guys noticing that the volunteers are finally coming up?
Yeah, I just got emails at the teamppc.ca. They're just going to the website and they're filling out volunteer forms. So I got a handful to coordinate with already. So it's exciting.
What about you, Jeff? I'm going to put my headphones on. I think and get some feedback.
Yeah, no, it's for me, it's a learning, like I said, it's a learning curve that goes straight up. I have some great people who have stepped up and taken the bull by the horns to help me and assist me and get up and running. I've just placed my first order for lawn signs, so those are coming. And I guess a lot of people don't understand that a lot of voters we're limited to what we can do outside of an election. So it's everybody that says, "Oh yeah, you only show up at election time," but unfortunately, Elections Canada keeps a tight rein on a lot of things. So I've done what I can. I mean, there's still more to do to let people know that I'm out here and ready and willing to step up. So I've had some really good feedback and response to our meet and greets on a regular basis. We do one once or twice a month, and here in Chilliwack and Hope. So we're going to expand on that and get out and about. So.
Oh yeah, so I get regular intel on you guys from your CEO, Timothy Knight. He and we do a podcast every Friday. So I will be giving an evaluation of your performance to him after this. Be careful what you say.
Yeah.
Kevin, why don't we go to you? I spoke to another People's Party candidate this morning. He's a new candidate in North Vancouver, which is a neighboring riding of mine. And he said he started out with the Conservative Party. He went that route. And his criticism, it was really beautiful the way he put it. He goes, these guys, like they see the same problems, the Conservatives as the Liberals. They're good at identifying the problems, but all they care about is getting into power, getting elected. So they're not actually worried about fixing the problems. And that's why he joined the People's Party. Do you see that as well?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you know, can I talk about the vote splitting argument?
Sure, it's your show.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm getting so tired of this argument. Um, the reality is all these other parties have been lying to us. Whether it's from the tariffs, where Canada's been tariffing for over a decade, about 300% on dairy and poultry, and rather than negotiating like Max wants to, like today, let's negotiate, let's drop all the tariffs, let's do a good deal for everybody. These globalist parties, they'd rather pump their chest and say I'm Canada first, but they're not Canada first because they're fighting for themselves and themselves only, like you said, to get in power and stay in power. And this whole vote splitting thing, what I'm telling people is, if you don't have the People's Party voice and representation in Ottawa, we're done as a country. And you can just look at immigration. Canada, since June of 2020, Canada has been a champion country for the United Nations. This is the long version. United Nations Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration. It's not just compact on migration. It's a compact on safe, orderly, and regular migration. And just 2 weeks ago, Canada and Ecuador signed on as co-champion countries for the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration. And I actually even just printed this off. As a champion country, Canada will continue to align its national policies and programs with the Global Compact on Migration's objectives. Canada will continue to work with our partners around the world to promote the Global Compact on Migration internationally, to encourage migration through regular pathways. So we're not even in charge of our immigration policy in Canada. We're submitted to the Global Compact on Migration. Like if we don't stand up for Canadians and say, we need a moratorium on immigration, we need to stop the flow. The conservatives, they say, the bathtub's overflowing, let's build more bathtubs and let's stack them on top of each other. And it's like, are you kidding me? Let's just stop the flow. Let's get our bearings. Let's get healthcare and housing under control. But no, we're gonna tweak immigration a little bit. We're gonna drop the numbers to 250,000 a year. Well, that doesn't include temporary foreign workers, others that come here on student visas and that expire and that stay. So we need to stop the flow. We need to instead put our resources at, I think it's Immigration and Citizenship Canada, towards finding and deporting our illegal immigrants in this country and putting Canadians first.
So I'm going to go quickly to Jeff. Jeff, I know you're a huge fan of unfettered immigration in the UN. What do you think our policy should be on mass immigration?
I think it's we definitely need a moratorium. I mean, and again, this is 250,000 new immigrants on top of the 1.5 or 1.6 million that already come in here. So it's just asinine to think that we can keep bringing people in when we're already bursting at the seams in our healthcare and our housing. It's just and Kevin, if you can send that information to me as well, I'd appreciate it.
Oh yeah. I printed off a little ditty. Here's what AI has to tell us. In 2023, nearly 97.6% of Canada's population growth came from international migration, both permanent and temporary immigration, with the remaining 2.4% stemming from natural increase, births minus deaths.
Well, Maxime said that 3 times over his podcast in the States. He did it on
Yeah.
PBD, he did it
Yeah.
on Alex, and he also
Yeah.
did it with Viva Frey. So it's got to be true. I mean, the thing is, and PBD did an excellent job of getting the actual, graphs
Yeah,
and
that's great.
charts up for
Yeah.
everybody to see. And if people refuse to listen, then, or see it,
Yeah.
then they deserve what is happening.
Jeff,
Our job is.
let me ask you a question on that. When you're talking to your constituents, do you get pushback? Like, do you get people who say no, and immigration is our strength?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, people see it here, and they see it like they see it happening, like they see it. I mean, they watch the news, and the thing is, but it's our duty to take in people. It's our responsibility to care for our people. I had that discussion this morning. I nearly blew it with a potential vote. He's not going to vote for me anyways because he's a liberal, but he's he comes from a banking background, and it's I nearly lost it. I said I gotta go. See, it's really frustrating when people refuse to. They'd rather put Canadians out in the cold than immigrants.
Kevin, what about you? What when you talk to the voters, like, what arguments do they give in support of immigration? Is it like we need the labor? What is it?
Well, I got this from Ed Fast in the 2021 all candidates debate. He basically said we need immigration, we need immigrants. Our population is getting older, but here's the thing: the population increase through immigration is so extreme. So our GDP is growing, but it's not growing as fast as our population. So our GDP per capita is going down. So our purchasing power is going down. Our standard of living is going down. So people can't afford to have kids anymore. So they're not having kids. So our population is declining. So let's bring more immigrants in. It's just a vicious circle, and it's like it's destroying our country and our culture.
I think that's true, Kevin. I mean, established Canadians can no longer afford to have children, and the thing is when when there's no legislation on abortion, and and people forget that's what populations do. They age. So is the government not smart enough to figure that out, that populations age, and there needs to be a steady flow or steady supply? I mean, and back in the day when our grandparents came over, they were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids, and that's the way it was back then. That's how you grow a population,
I noticed this too. Ever since I was a kid, so what is it, like 30, 35 years, we've been told we have an aging population. Okay, how can you go on for 35 years and you still have an aging population? Shouldn't they have been dead by now? So I don't buy that argument anymore. But I just wanted to quickly segue to a question from the audience. We'll go with Kevin. You can address this first. I would like to hear the candidates' views on agricultural land reserves versus building more homes for new arrivals in the Fraser Valley.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Gary, I mean, it's sad what the government is allowing our agricultural land reserves to happen. It's we're losing generational family farms. We see the road work, the infrastructure being set in place. More farms are going up on the block, and it's so frustrating that because of the immigration policies and everything else, that people are leaving the area, and so who's ever buying up the farmland is going to develop it, and that is a government. That's a UN initiative so that needs to be stopped. And the only way that's going to stop, Gary, is to pull out of the UN, tear up all those agreements that the UN holds and holds over us.
Kevin?
How is the question phrased? What are we doing about ALC?
I believe the question, the way Gary is asking, ALR, Agricultural Land Reserve, what's your position on preserving the land versus, we're bringing in all these immigrants, so we have to wipe out the land. Shouldn't say wipe out. We have to develop the land for residential housing.
Right. Yeah. Well, it ties in with the whole policy stance that we take, that we need a moratorium on immigration, because Abbotsford is like one of the most productive farmland areas. We call it the city in the country. And raspberries, all kinds of different agricultural products are farmed here and sent to markets all throughout Canada and exported. And to destroy the economic productivity of our province by putting up hotels and everything to house all these immigrants and give them phone and paying their rent. And the other thing we didn't touch on immigration too, about the aging population is we don't have face-to-face interviews anymore with immigration. It's all done online. And we have these family reunification programs where bring grandma and grandpa, and don't worry about learning a new language, where before you had to learn English or French and you had to sit down. There was a criteria for having economic immigrants coming into your country, where now it just seems like they have opened the doors and they don't screen. Here's another thing. So, and this was out of a U.S. news feed. In 2023 to 2024, over 500 known terrorists on the terrorist watch list were apprehended in the United States. Over 80%, 460 something of them were coming from Canada across the border into the United States. So when Trump says
the soft underbelly,
we need Canada to get serious, we need to get serious.
All right. Well, let me go over to Jeff. You can follow up with that if you like, and then tell us what your views are on what should we do with the tariffs, who's in the right, who's in the wrong.
Trump is in the right. That's just he wants a level playing field, which is what every leader, when you're negotiating a new trade agreement, put all the cards on the table. So and as Maxime says, we have to put all the cards on the table. See, and the thing is when it comes to tariffs, I don't hear anybody screaming about China's 100% tariffs. I mean, but yet Trump says 25, and the carbon tax coming up in April 1st. Oh, or is there going to be a carbon tax? Nobody knows. I mean, the government, anyways. Regarding the tariffs, we have to be fair. We have to be honest. We have to be open, and we have to be willing to make sure that our goods can get to the States and American goods can get into Canada, and everybody's paying a fair price. So that's just my thinking.
Kevin, I'm going to ask sort of the same question to you. Our illustrious Premier David Eby just tried to start a war with Alaska over these cruises. What do you think about what's going on in our province?
It's insanity. We're hurting ourselves. So, I heard Maxime say this too. Supply management, which is the system where we tariff supply management is built on 3 pillars. So we tariff to keep competition away. We have a quota system where you can produce this much milk and not a drop more. So we dump millions of liters down the drain every year of milk. It's criminal, and keeps supply down, prices high, and then it's price fixed. The only ones, I feel compassionate to our dairy farmers, because the ones that are getting rich is this Dairy Farmers Association of Canada. That it's a cartel, and they spend between $80 and $120 million a year keeping the system in place. And so supply management, or this huge tariff of up to 300%, it's already on the table. The good news for Canadians is this whole tariff thing, supply management's already on the table because Trump put it on the table. He said Canada's been ripping us off for over a decade, and they tariff us 250% on average on dairy. He didn't say poultry and eggs, he just said on dairy. And we're not putting up with it anymore. So Trump wants to renegotiate the free trade deal that's coming up next year anyway. So instead of reacting and pounding your chest and we're putting Canada first, we're going to do reciprocal tariffs and hit the U.S. back. Well, Canadian consumers are paying that tax from the tariffs. Like, the reason we pay twice as much for milk, dairy, and eggs is because we have tariffs that keep competition out. So if we throw everything on the table, deal with everything at the same time, maybe we drop all the tariffs on both sides. Maybe we lower some of the tariffs, but we negotiated out a good deal for both countries, and we unleash the economic opportunities that we could, have. Instead, we're going to go into a recession. We're going to, they're destroying us. That's why I say, unless you get us in there, we're done.
So I'm going to go over to Jeff. I got a follow-up question, similar grounds. This David Eby, I think he's gotten rid of all the American alcohol, or at least the ones for the red states. What's the sense of this like false patriotism in your riding? Because in my riding, like, all of a sudden overnight, a whole bunch of Canadian flags popped up that you never saw during the trucker convoy, and there were previously, I swear to God, Ukraine flags. Is it the same phenomenon there, or are you guys more based rational?
Well, in Chilliwack Hope, I mean, I'm not much of a drinker, so I don't spend a whole lot of time in liquor stores or bars or pubs anymore. Although, when I was out traversing the riding, I ended up at Boston Bar, and I actually went into one of the general merchants there, and in the small towns, their general merchants do supply alcohol products. And so I asked them, so are you removing any of the American brands off the shelves? And they just, no. But the thing is all the alcohol has already been purchased. It's already been bought and paid for. Now, here's the thing. And the other side of that is they paid wages for their staff to remove it off the shelf, put it back on the shelf, take it off the shelf. That's just bad fiscal management. I mean, that's just ludicrous. I mean, if we had a business that, paid somebody to put it wax on, wax off, just enough, learn to better manage your products and be smart about business, which unfortunately the NDP government isn't.
Well, no, they're not known for that. Kevin, do you want to? What are your thoughts about, like, is there any fake patriotism that popped up in Abbotsford?
Well, a little bit, but it's all part of this. What do they call it? Mass psychosis formation. Like, we're inundated with a leftist media that it's all propaganda and stuff. So the war in Ukraine. Well, Vladimir Zelensky's a dictator. He's thrown journalists in jail. He's gone into churches, had parishioners beat up and intimidated, and basically outlawed religion in his country. He's not having elections, so he's not a legitimate leader. And in fact, the United States started this war in 2014 with a coup where they took out. You can people, all they have to do is watch a documentary like Ukraine on Fire by Oliver Stone from 2015 before this 2022 incursion by Russia. So the United States has been over there disrupting and causing instability since at least 2014. Not most people, a lot of people will say this is a proxy war. I believe it's a proxy war. It's a proxy war, and it's a money laundering scheme. And like, how much money has been just wasted and gone and unaccounted for? Zelensky says that he can't account for half of the money that's gone that way. And they're selling arms to the black market that's ending up in South America and different places. Like
Bangladesh, everywhere, yeah.
Yeah. So
I always I laugh. People say, it wasn't right of President Trump to behave that way with Zelensky. Zelensky's a head of state. I'm like, no, he's not. He hasn't held the election, and he dresses up like he's a homeless guy. He's in sweatpants.
Yeah.
We got a question from the audience. Jeff, I'm going to put this to you first. One more godless woman. I've interviewed her. She's very much one of these sovereign citizens. She believes in sovereignty of the individual. PPC wants to get away from the globalists, but election to office will require an oath to King Charles and promises to keep his secrets, and is also a globalist. King Charles is also a globalist. Then how do we get away from globalism? Do you understand the question?
How do we get away from globalism? I think that's going to take an act of Parliament to decide if they want to maintain, if we want to end oaths to the monarchy. I'm not sure how the whole situation transpires. Swearing an oath. I mean, when I joined the forces, I had to swear an oath to the Queen, and I think that's where our issue is we have to end all, as many of the globalist ties as possible. I mean, tearing up, leaving the UN, leaving the WHO, and those sorts of organizations. That's a great start. We're going to have to take a look at changing our system of governance if we're going to end the relationship with the monarchy. So until we become a constitutional republic, and we have a governor general. The governor general is appointed by the prime minister to represent the monarchy. That has to change. So I think that's where it's going to have to start. We're going to have to really take a serious, long look at this whole constitutional monarchy.
Kevin, I guess I'll put the same question to you, but loosely, what's your view on the monarchy?
Well, I think the king is just like a ceremonial figurehead, and maybe you do have to swear an oath to him, but I think it's become more and more obsolete as time goes by, and I'm not sure. Do we have to open up the Constitution to oust him from residing over? I think we do. So it's not something that's easily done. To open up the Constitution, you need at least 5 provinces and I think 50% of the population to agree to something. So that's a huge process. So I think he's irrelevant in the operations of Canada. And yeah, it's just nothing more than a ceremonial figurehead. And I don't think that would it impose on us restrictions from pulling out of the United Nations and things like that. They can't stop us.
Okay,
that's done through Parliament.
So we're going to move on to some more, in a way they're more difficult questions, but there's no right or wrong answer. Let's go with parental rights, but it could be any rights, like mobility rights. All of our rights that we saw shredded during COVID, mobility rights, security of the person, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. and parental rights that we've seen after COVID until now, like they're the way they're undermining parents. Jeff, how would you tackle that? Do you think we need to amend the charter to get rid of the reasonable limits clause? What's your solution?
Well, I think it's definitely worth taking a look at the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Well, from what I recall about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, when it was implemented, it was not endorsed. It was not ratified by all the premiers of the Canadian provinces. There was one holdout because they refused one of the clauses. So, is it really the Charter? Is it really the Constitution? Is it really the Charter of Rights and Freedom? Is it really is it really the guiding light as to what our rights and freedoms are? Because obviously, like you've just pointed out, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms wasn't even worth the paper it was written on during the Freedom Convoy and subsequent events following. So, and I think Trudeau put in that notwithstanding clause just to allow these sort of things to happen. So, I think that if we look at it, that notwithstanding clause is the government's out from enforcing the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So
Kevin,
that has
same
to be addressed.
question. Sorry, I cut you off. Keep going.
No, that has to be addressed. We take a look at that and open it up again and make sure that everybody is protected by a charter for rights and freedoms, not just the government. And really, the thing is the difference between the American Constitution and ours is that the Constitution in America protects the people from the government. Well, as we've seen in our situation over the last few years, the last dozen years, that doesn't seem to be. It seems it's like the government is being protected from the people.
Seems like it. Kevin, what would your solution be?
My solution would be politicians who represent the people with courage and conviction, standing on principles to defend parental rights. Like, I don't know, it was a few weeks back where Poilievre was sitting in front of the cameras, asked about gender, and he's acting real cool, saying, as far as I know, there's only two genders. And interacting with the interviewer, and he goes, I don't know, do you know, is there more than two genders? Yet this man and every single member of parliament in the Conservative Party voted unanimously to fast-track Bill C-4 into law. The bill that criminalizes any parent that would say what he just said. My child who was born a boy is a boy, and tries to interfere with the state from transitioning that boy to a girl, they can face up to 5 years in jail. So you get a little wet noodle leader like that, and it doesn't matter if we have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It just gets walked on. What happened in COVID? Where was Pierre Poilievre for 2 years? Stay at home, follow the rules, follow the science. And then it was after the truckers got to Ottawa, after freedom all of a sudden became popular, he jumps up on an overpass and says, I'm running to be prime minister and make Canada the freest country in the world. Wow. Thanks, Pierre. While Maxime Bernier is thrown in jail for fighting for the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution and enshrined in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I'm sorry. That's why I got into politics. People like that. Like, I used to be conservative through and through. I volunteered for EdFast. I've seen what the Conservative Party has turned into over the years, and I can't stomach it anymore. People need a fighter. People need someone fighting for them, not these wet noodle globalist shills. Sorry, got a little bit excited there.
Yeah, that's okay. We're these are interesting times we're living in. I'm going to
Yeah.
ask a question, and Kevin, maybe you go first, but then I'll leave it to you guys to do back and forth. What do you think? Tell me where you think Canada went off the rails. What we've lost, like foundational issues. So I just want you two to have a nice discussion about: is it the erosion of the family unit? Is it the destruction of the church? Like there's no religion. Is it the debt? Like, what do you think is our core issues, Kevin, first?
Wow, that's a tough question. I think it's an evil agenda that's taken over our country. Like we're all these things like transgenderism and gender equity and inclusion. We're going to stop racism by being racist and be racist against the white male man, and it's so many things working together all at the same time to destroy the nuclear family. We just said immigration, we can't afford to have families anymore, so let's just bring more immigrants in because we need that to get our economy going and build jobs and stuff. Yet somehow the more we increase immigration, it doesn't help our unemployment situation in Canada. So yeah, I that's a hard one to wrap your head around and come up with that.
It's okay, Jeff. We'll bounce these ideas off. What do you think, Jeff?
I think it started. I think that I'm in the 70s. That's when it started. The desecration of the family unit. Pierre Elliott Trudeau and all his and all his nonsense, and it just got worse and worse as time went on. And then we got to Brian Mulroney, and here you had the first foreign influenced member of Parliament, not only a member of Parliament, but the Prime Minister of Canada, endorsing a document from a foreign entity that wants to change, Canadian structure. And then it just seemed to progress from there. Obviously, after the Mulroney years, Maxime said it the other day, he said following the Mulroney years, they appointed Kim Campbell as the leader for the party, and the party got decimated to 2 seats. And the thing is, and then that's when the Reform Party sprung up. Preston Manning and the Reform Party, they knew that there needed to be change. And they took a great number of seats. They formed the opposition and so on. And then along comes Stockwell Day and everybody else, and to form an alliance. And then the Conservatives get back in, and now we have what we have today. So I think there's the thing is, government isn't open anymore. It's backroom dealings. It's secret societies. It's foreign influence, and it's really frustrating because the citizens who put their trust in the elected officials, representatives, are being left out in the cold and are not being told the truth. They're being told half truths, and and so the citizens are left going, what the hell just happened? And here we are today. So I just, enough is enough.
It's a hell of a history lesson. Kevin, I'm going to go back to you. I'm getting a hell of a...
I'm going to go shut my phone off.
I'm getting a hell of a shooting pain down the left side of my chest and my arm. If it's a heart attack, tell my story, bro. How has the last couple of 24, 48 hours have been? Ever since he announced on Sunday, my phone has been blowing up. I haven't been this high in demand since I was a frontline sales engineer.
It's I worked all weekend, and so when I was at work yesterday, everything came down, and then again, yeah, the phone started blowing up, and I'm trying to work and earn my salary. So, I get home at 7 o'clock and start answering, making response to my phone blowing up. But it's really important that that Canadians understand that we're here to save our country, because like, for whatever reason, there are those that have gone before that have found a different path to take for their own personal indulgence. So,
Kevin, you before you walked away, I was just going to say, do you have any follow up to what Jeff said earlier, if you remember?
I know I was just going to say on.
Yeah, I know. Don't ask me, man. I wasn't listening to them.
We were talking about the what happened to the country. When it all started going haywire.
Right. Well, you brought up a good point. Like all the corruption, like I've talked briefly about it on supply management. Like these politicians, they're paid off, like to keep the system entrenched that's hurting Canadians, but it benefits them, and it disgusts me. And it's time to change. It's time to fire them all.
Yeah, no argument for me.
Maxime, on Alex. Alex asked on Alex Jones, Infowars. Alex asked him, "What does it mean to be Canadian? What does it mean to be Canadian?" And so Maxime gave his responses, and democracy, civilized societies, and those kinds of things, and those kind of responses. But I had to think about that. What does it mean to be Canadian? So 4:30 in the morning, the alarm bells, the alarm bells go off in the peace and quiet, the dead of the night, and so I thought about it. So what does it mean to be Canadian? And so I came up with moral decency, passion with compassion, freedoms with responsibility. And that's what our grandparents and our great-grandparents brought to Canada from European countries or wherever they came from. Those sorts of ideas, and I think that's what they try to instill in every in their offspring, because they came from countries that were devastated by wars. There came famines, natural disasters, and so on. So they had to work together. They had to be accepting. They had to to be responsible with what they're given. So that's, to me, I mean, like I said, 4:30 in the morning, and that's what came to me.
I don't really have a good answer for that question. Do you, Kevin? Like, what does it mean to be a Canadian? What is the Canadian dream? Do you want to try tackling it?
Yeah, I haven't really thought that one through either. But because, well, what it used to be to me, be Canadian maybe would be family values. What Jeff said there, compassion, conviction, ideas of freedom, freedom to, I almost sound American now that I'm thinking what I'm saying, but, freedom to follow your dreams but having responsibility to be contributor to society. And, it just seems we're losing our way in Canada. What used to be important isn't important anymore because people are just trying to survive. So you can't be focused on others, helping others, because you're having a hard time getting by yourself. So that's why I say we got to get in there and do the bold reforms that are needed to turn this country around, because little tweaks here and there, dropping immigration down to 250,000, that's not going to fix it. We need bold reforms.
We need more. immigration. Just shut it right down for 5 years. Let us get our house in order. Let's cut the foreign benevolence to in under the guise of being a good global citizen at the expense of our current citizens. It's enough is enough.
Clip that out. There's your campaign speech.
That's just it. I mean, and that's when I'm doing my meet and greets. That's exactly what I say to them. We have to quit the foreign benevolence at the expense of our own citizens. And and that part of my interaction with my neighbor this morning, he's okay with sending money overseas. You
can't argue with people like that. I was trying to talk to this guy, and he said, Justin Trudeau is the best prime minister Canada's ever had. I was like, I'm out. I'm tapping out then.
Well, it's not just the money going to foreigners. So we have corporate welfare in Canada, subsidies to big corporations, like Volkswagen got $20 billion to build a plant, and Loblaws, here's $1.2 billion so you can have new freezers after you've already made gazillions of dollars in profit. So part of the way we're saying we need to be serious about erasing the deficit in 1 year is cut out corporate welfare. Why are we taxing our businesses so this big pool of money can be distributed to big business and corporations that are destroying all the little businesses? So
I feel like this is the position the NDP once held like 1,000 years ago when they actually supported the workers.
Well, the thing is supporting the workers. I mean, if employees were able to take home more of their paychecks, there'd be a lot more happier employees. It's the government that's helping destroy the economic climate for families. With increased taxation, everything now is just taxed to high heaven. So it's just
it's an open air tax plantation.
Yeah.
Let's go to some comments, questions from the audience. There's a whole bunch. I've been buffering these up. So there was a question, we kind of addressed this, liberty for all. Are PPC wanting to get rid of the crown in our country? If you want to just quickly answer it again.
For me?
Jeff?
Yeah, I'd vote to get rid of it.
Kevin?
Yeah, if that was possible without reopening the Constitution to do it. But yeah, 100%. Like I said, he's just a figurehead. He doesn't serve any purpose other than, can we have an election? Go to the Governor General, and it's just a ceremony.
Yeah, I'm with both of them. It's both a ceremony, it's both and a nuisance. We need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Here's one from libertarians of Beausejour. Enough is enough for sure. Lived in Hatsick for 10 years. Kevin, house prices are insane in the Lower Mainland. I don't know what Hatsick is.
It's a lake, Hatsick Lake. It's in between Mission and the Roche.
Oh, okay. I never leave my little enclave, but the housing prices are crazy.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I chalk that up to mass immigration, replacement immigration. Do you know that in Vancouver and Toronto, where I'm pretty sure it was 40%, or might even have been 80% of all these mass immigration they're not citizens yet until they become citizens, but they settle in like Vancouver and Toronto, and where the housing is already under pressure and they all need a roof. So the demand is skyrockets and prices just keep going up. How do you how do you stop it? Well, you stop it.
Yeah, I compare it to like you have a pressure cooker. So you have pressure, and if you increase the temperature, you turn up the dial, the pressure is going to build up. That's what's happening with the housing market.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that, regarding the housing industry, the housing market and so on and so forth, that people who are people people who are encouraged to or supposed to pay $2,000 a month in rent or $3,000 a month in rent, they don't qualify. They're not allowed to buy a home with that kind of money. What is that? Like, how are families supposed to survive? Okay, so I have to pay $3,000 in rent, but I can't get a $1,500 mortgage. That's just more foreign, interference in our banking system. But that's another topic. So it's just ridiculous.
No, you framed it pretty in an interesting way. I'm gonna go to Gary. I think he had a good question. As federal candidates, is it acceptable for provinces or even the Queen Charlotte Islands to secede to foreign powers? Kevin, you want to take that first?
Is it acceptable for provinces to secede to foreign powers? So he's probably referring to Alberta going and joining the US. But I don't know if it's that easy to do. So, because that question, I think we might have to have a referendum or reopen the Constitution in order to do that. And you have to have buy-in from the other provinces to say, yeah, fly at it, take off, see you later. So I don't know if it can be done. Because I do know that there's delegations that have gone down from Alberta to meet with Trump to discuss how that might be an actual opportunity. But what's coming of it? I don't know if anything can come of it.
Jeff?
For me personally, I'd like to see the country stay together. But the thing is we've been dealing with this secession question for decades. The Quebec, Quebec has been threatened to leave and threatened. If you're not happy here, or if obviously, if a number of citizens are not happy, then by all means, get your, whatever, pack up your stuff and do whatever you need to do to make your life more comfortable. Why keep holding hostage? Why keep other citizens hostage to the situation? If Alberta secedes, then Alberta secedes. That's up to them. That's up to the citizens, the constituents of that riding. Like I said, I don't want to see a country that's torn apart. But if we're going to keep picking up, threatening to take up our ball and go home, then what's the point of playing the game anymore?
Yeah, that's actually, that's one of our policies too, and a promise to Alberta to not leave is to actually respect the Constitution, to shrink the size of government, give autonomy back to the provinces, but not only that, to reformulate the equalization formula to make it less generous and more fair. So Alberta, the government takes billions of dollars from Alberta and then gives it to Quebec, for example. Well, Quebec has no incentive to develop their own natural resources. Their own provincial policies are what keep it a have-not province. And if we were less generous and used that money to actually pay off our deficit, and instead of sending them billions, why don't we just send them a few million and work with them to get their policies better for their economy by developing their own natural resources? And it's a win-win for the country. It brings unity to the country, brings prosperity to the country, and it's a no-brainer. But here's what's going on. Pierre Poilievre will not change the equalization formula because he takes the Alberta vote for granted and he pays off the have-not provinces in the east with that money.
Yeah.
And that's what causes the anger.
Sorry, I wasn't laughing at you. Gary said we need a block BC.
The thing is I watched that, Max Zima on Viva Frey, and he unloaded some really interesting tidbits regarding Quebec. And you're absolutely right, Kevin. Quebec has been hiding their goods under the cover of equalization.
Yeah. You know that hydroelectric
The rest
power.
of Canada is being held hostage,
Yeah.
because Quebec doesn't want to do anything. They want to,
Yeah. And the hydroelectric power revenue generated in that province is not part of the equalization formula. It's not accounted for. So we have all this revenue, but you can't look at that when we do the formula. We want all the money.
You know what the problem is? I think Max might have brought this up as well. BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, 24 senators. Ontario, 24 senators. Quebec, 24 senators. Ontario and Quebec do not want to give up that power. Like when you have that much power, you can punch your adversary in the face. I'm talking about Alberta, and you can demand that they give you half their stuff. So that's what Quebec's doing. You can't drill, but you still have to give me money because I'm too lazy to work on my own.
That's a good summation right there. I'm going to use it.
It's absolutely frustrating for the rest of Canada, and and of course you've got now you've got the Quebec government saying, no, you can't put a pipeline through our province. I mean, I don't know. We want to keep taking your money, but you can't put a pipeline through our province.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. This is why we need Maxime Bernier. So he just says, well, we just invoke section 9210 of the Constitution, and that puts pipelines under federal jurisdiction. And away we go. We're building.
Put one right in the middle of Montreal.
Right, exactly. Right
through McGill. Or when William Shatner has a mansion, just crush the mansion with a pipe. I'm sure the Trudeaus have a mansion too. Okay, we're going to wrap up the show. So I'm going to ask you final question. Kevin, we'll go to you first since you're a two-time candidate. How do you plan to manage your campaign? What's your strategy going forward in the next few weeks?
Well, we got some really cool, slick marketing materials now for lawn signs and business cards and you name it. So I'm focused on getting that out to people and taking advantage of these big digital billboards and advertising that way. But I got to get out into the neighborhoods. So what I learned is as soon as your nomination papers are accepted, you get information from Elections Canada, and it shows you the voting blocks and where, I'm going to find the most friendly People's Party neighborhoods and the densest neighborhoods, and I'm going door knocking. I'm meeting people. I'm going to the coffee shops and just being accessible and listening to people, what their story is, and getting my name known, and we'll see what happens.
Jeff, what about you?
Well, I've already had several people request lawn signs. I'm just going to continue doing meet and greets in various public venues. I will get out and about and do some door knocking. It's for me, it's been a learning curve. Like I said in the beginning of the show, it's been a learning curve that has gone straight up. So when I was a young man, this was far beyond my scope of ever being something, and getting into politics and so on, because I'm not a politician. I'm just a guy who cares about our country. And I've seen, over the past 40 years, I've seen nothing but, the only thing that's changed is the size of our deficit. And so it's just a matter of getting out and meeting the people. And everybody where I work knows that what I'm doing, and they're cool with it. Some say don't split the vote, but anyway. So and whatever. I mean, but the thing is we're all going to get that, and it's time to open the eyes, and just let them know that we do care, and and listen to their concerns. And they've all got the same concerns. They're tired of not having any money at the end of the month. That's their biggest concern, and they're tired of not being able to have a family vacation or whatever. It's really a fiscal issue for a lot of Canadians in my area, and seeing the detriment of long established families going off and to other regions. So I'm just here to save our country. That's my thing.
Good man. And Prairie says good luck to all PPC candidates. Thank you very much, Prairie. One final thing, Kevin, first you and then Jeff, just tell the audience, how can the audience get a hold of you if they want to volunteer, if they want to donate?
Just go to Fraser Valley PPC.ca. All the information's there. You can become a member, volunteer, donate. Just click on a button for volunteer. A pop-up will come up and just ask for your information, give you a few different areas that you could volunteer, or just says other, general, whatever you think you would be interested in helping. And it goes to headquarters, comes to me right away, and then you get contacted.
And Jeff, I guess it's the same with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Fraser Valley PPC.ca, and donations. I mean, when I do my meet and greets, I tell the attendees that I'd rather have $5 from 1,000 people or 10,000 people. $5 from 1,000 or 10,000 people than maxing out their the number that you're allowed, 1,750, because only a few people can do that. But if 1,000 or 10,000 people donated $5 or $10, we're done. We would have the financial resources to put on that those big digital boards and signage and everything else. So that's all it takes, $5 from 1,000 or 10,000 people. I know that there's got to be 10,000 people in both of our ridings, Kevin, that have $5.
Yeah, I would hope so. Otherwise, it's too late for our country.
Yeah.
The thing about the People's Party of Canada that I'm like, we're very fiscally responsible, and the thing, we have a very good financial agent, and she makes sure that every penny is accounted for. So, so I mean, that's where we have to go. And so $5 from 10,000 people in each of these ridings, perfect. Thank you very much up front.
All right, guys. I just wanted to add, when you're donating, if you're mentioned that you were referred by Payment Ascari, I get half the donation. So. I kid. The silly dad joke. So, Mr. Sinclaire, Mr. Galbraith, thank you very much for coming. You guys you're fantastic candidates. You'll make fantastic MPs. I wish you all the best of luck and success. And I'm here if you need any support.
Payment, thank you so much for
likewise.
This. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Have a great day, and a big thank you to the audience and to Prairie. I extended that, so no more of your Irish goodbye comments. She's always giving me a hard time because I'm ending abruptly. If this goes on, I'm going to start reciting poetry at the end. But
Got it, buddy. Okay, thank you.
Take care.
All
Bye,
right,
guys.
thanks. See ya.
Bye.